You are paying a tax you never agreed to pay. Not to a government, not to a bank. To the dozens of small invisible forces that quietly take slices of your time every single day without you ever noticing. Each slice is small enough that it does not feel like theft. A few minutes here, a distraction there, a decision that takes longer than it should, an obligation you said yes to without thinking, a task you keep starting and never finishing, a conversation that solved nothing. Add them up, do it honestly, and you will find that the gap between the hours you have and the hours you actually use is far larger than you think. That gap is the hidden tax, and almost everyone is paying it. Let me show you where it goes. The average person makes approximately 35,000 decisions every day. Most of them are trivial. What to eat, what to wear, which email to open first, which task to start. These decisions feel free. They feel like they cost nothing because no money changes hands, but they do cost something. They cost cognitive energy. And cognitive energy is finite in a way that most people dramatically underestimate. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. The more decisions you make, the lower the quality of each subsequent one. Your brain does not distinguish between important decisions and trivial ones. Every choice draws from the same reservoir, which means that by the time you sit down to do the work that actually matters, the creative work, the strategic thinking, the things that require your best judgment, you have already spent a significant portion of your cognitive budget on things that were barely worth deciding at all. Barack Obama wore the same style of suit every day during his presidency, not because he lacked options, because he understood that his cognitive energy was a finite resource and that spending it on what to wear was one of the least valuable things he could do with it. Mark Zuckerberg did the same. So did Steve Jobs with his black turtleneck. These were not quirks, they were systems. Deliberate choices to eliminate entire categories of small decisions so that more of their mental budget remained available for decisions that actually mattered. Most people do the opposite. They start every day without a system. They improvise, they decide, they redecide, they change their mind. And by mid-morning they have already paid a substantial portion of the hidden tax without producing anything of value. But decision fatigue is only the first layer. There is a second tax that most people pay without ever realizing it exists. And this one is more expensive than the first. It is called the cost of incompletion. Your brain has a mechanism called the Zeigarnik effect, named after the psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, who first described it in 1927. The Zeigarnik effect states that your brain holds open, incomplete tasks as active loops in the background of your awareness. Every unfinished project, every unanswered message, every intention you have not acted on, every goal you have announced but not started. Your brain keeps all of these loops open, actively processing them, consuming mental energy to maintain them, even when you are not consciously thinking about them. This is why you lie in bed at night thinking about the email you forgot to send. Why your brain surfaces the report you have not finished at completely random moments during your day. Why a task you have been avoiding has a way of taking up more mental space than a task you are actively working on. The incomplete thing is loudest, not because it is most important, because your brain is wired to flag it. And here is the real cost. Most people are carrying dozens of these open loops at any given moment. Projects that have been started but not finished. Commitments that were made but not honored. Ideas that were captured but never developed. Plans that were announced but never acted on. Each one is a small background process running silently, consuming your cognitive resources, contributing to a general feeling of overwhelm that you can never quite locate the source of. You feel busy but not productive, drained but not accomplished. The loop tax is why. The third layer of the hidden tax is the most subtle of all. And it is the one most people never identify because it masquerades as something completely harmless. It is the tax of unclear thinking. Most people move through their day operating on half-formed thoughts. They sort of know what they want. They roughly understand what they are working toward. They have a general sense of their priorities. But they have never sat down and thought any of it through completely. And the result is a constant low-level friction that most people mistake for a normal feature of their lives rather than recognizing it as a cost they are paying. Here is a concrete example. When you sit down to work without a clear picture of what the work is, your brain has to spend the first 10 to 20 minutes of every work session just figuring out what you are supposed to be doing. This is called the startup cost. And most people pay it every single session, multiple times a day, because they never develop the habit of ending one work block with a clear definition of what the next one should contain. Multiply that startup cost across every work session in a day. Every meeting you entered without a clear outcome in mind. Every project you started without a clear definition of what done looks like. Every conversation you had without knowing what you were trying to achieve. The friction accumulates, the time drains, and you end the day feeling like you worked hard and moved nothing meaningful forward. I noticed this in my own work several years ago. I was putting in long hours and producing inconsistent results. Some days I would look back at what I had created and feel genuinely proud. Other days I would look back and realize I had been extremely busy doing things that had no clear connection to where I was actually trying to go. The work was real, the effort was real, but the thinking behind it was vague. And vague thinking is expensive. There is a fourth tax, and this one is social. Every commitment you make to someone else is either an investment or a liability on your time. Most people know this in theory, but in practice they say yes to things constantly, out of politeness, out of social pressure, out of a vague feeling that saying no makes them difficult or selfish. And each yes adds to a growing pile of obligations that have nothing to do with what actually matters to them. The research on this is striking. In a study on regret, when people were asked to reflect on their biggest time regrets, the most common answer was not that they had spent too much time on the wrong work. It was that they had spent too much time doing things for other people that neither party actually valued deeply. Obligations that felt important in the moment but looked empty in hindsight. Time spent maintaining appearances. Time spent in rooms they had agreed to enter for reasons they could no longer remember. Warren Buffett once said that the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. This is not selfishness. It is precision. The person who says yes to everything is not generous. They are unclear about what they are here to do. Sivers, the entrepreneur and author, has a rule that he applies to every request on his time. If it is not a clear yes, it is a no. Not a maybe. Not a let me think about it. Not a yes, but only if it works out. If the answer is not immediate and enthusiastic, the answer is no. Most people never develop this precision. They live under a permanent weight of lukewarm obligations, things they half want to do, half feel they should do, and fully resent by the time they are actually doing them. Every one of those obligations is a withdrawal from the account that was supposed to fund something that mattered. So what does all of this add up to? For most people, the honest answer is this. The hidden tax consumes somewhere between 2 and 4 hours of genuine capacity every single day. Not through laziness. Not through poor work ethic. Through systems that were never designed. Through loops that were never closed. Through thinking that was never completed. Through commitments that were never examined. 2 to 4 hours every day. Across a working year, that is between 500 and 1,000 hours of capacity that was available and spent on nothing of real value. That is more time than it takes to learn a language to conversational fluency. More time than it takes to write a book. More time than almost any significant project requires. The tax is not small. It just feels small because it is collected in tiny invisible increments. Now here is how you stop paying it. The first thing to understand is that you do not stop paying the hidden tax by working harder. You stop paying it by designing differently. The tax is a systems problem, not a discipline problem. Discipline is what you need when the system is absent. When the system is present, discipline becomes almost unnecessary. The first shift is to reduce the number of decisions you make every day by making them once. Obama's suit, Jobs' turtleneck. These were not about clothing. They were about deciding once so you never have to decide again. Apply this principle everywhere it fits. Decide where you will work at what time and stop redeciding every morning. Decide what you will eat for the first meal of the day and stop improvising. Decide which 3 things would make today a success before today begins. so your brain knows what it is working toward the moment it powers up. Every decision you make once and stop remaking is a small refund on the daily tax. And the refunds compound. The second shift is to close your open loops deliberately and systematically. David Allen, who wrote the definitive book on personal productivity, calls this a mind sweep. Once a week, or once a day if the loops accumulate quickly, you sit down and write out every open loop currently running in your background processing. Every unfinished task. Every unmade decision. Every open commitment. Every idea you have been meaning to act on. You get them out of your brain and onto paper or a trusted system. The act of doing this does not complete the tasks, but it does something almost as valuable. It transfers the maintenance cost from your brain to a system. Your brain no longer has to keep those loops running because it trusts that the system is holding them. And when your brain is not running background processes, the mental space it frees up is extraordinary. It is the difference between a computer running 40 programs in the background and a computer running 2. Same machine. Dramatically different performance. The third shift is to think before you work, not while you are working. Before each work block, spend 2 to 5 minutes defining exactly what done looks like for that session. Not a vague intention. A specific outcome. Not I will work on the report, but I will write the first 3 sections of the report, starting with the market analysis. This is the difference between paying the startup cost every session and eliminating it entirely. Your brain arrives at the work already knowing what it is doing. The friction disappears. The first 10 minutes stop being spent on figuring out and start being spent on doing. The fourth shift is to audit your commitments with honest ruthlessness. Take every recurring obligation in your life, every meeting, every social commitment, every role you are playing for someone else's benefit, and ask a single question. If I were offered this for the first time today, would I say yes? Not would I feel guilty saying no. Not is it technically possible for me to do it. Would I actually say yes? The ones where the answer is no are things you are doing out of inertia, not intention. They are not investments. They are taxes. And you are allowed to stop paying them. Here is what I want you to understand about time. Time is not the resource most people think it is. Most people think of time as something they have or don't have. A fixed container that either contains enough or doesn't. But this is not accurate. What you actually have is not time. What you have is capacity. And capacity is shaped not just by how many hours you have, but by how much of your cognitive energy, your attention, and your mental clarity is available within those hours. 2 people can have identical schedules and one of them can produce 10 times what the other produces. Not because they work harder, because they have learned to protect their capacity instead of allowing it to be taxed away in small invisible increments before the important work even begins. The hidden tax is not inevitable. It is the default. And defaults can be changed. The people you admire for what they have built did not build it by having more time than you. They built it by losing less of the time they had, by designing systems that protected their attention, by saying no precisely, by closing loops deliberately, by thinking clearly before they acted. You have the same hours. The question is how much of them you are allowing to be taken before you notice. Stop paying the tax. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.